Are all injuries that occur on the job compensable under workers' compensation? Are all workers' compensation claims considered social recordable injuries? These are a couple of key questions that we will address this week. First, we will look at how to determine if a claim is accepted or denied under workers' compensation. Case law and workers' compensation law indicate that there are dozens of variables that must be considered when determining the compensability of an injury that occurs in the workplace. All of this is covered in detail in our class SSE 822, Workers' Compensation and Labor Law. However, this week we will address two fundamental principles that affect compensability. These two issues are if the injury arose out of and in the course of employment. Arising out of refers to the injury as a result of being on the job activity. For example, a worker falls from a scaffold. The job had required her to work from the scaffolding. Therefore, the injury arose out of her job. The second issue involves an injury that is suffered in the course of work. Using the previous example, an employee falls from a scaffold. She is at work performing her duties during a time period that she is required to be there. Therefore, the injury has also occurred in the course of her employment. In general, if an injury occurs as a result of an employee's job and the injury is suffered while that job is being performed at the time it is supposed to be performed, the injury is considered as compensable. This is a very simplistic way of looking at compensability, but it at least helps to paint the picture of general circumstances that must be present in order for an injury to be considered compensable. For the purpose of this course, the assumption is that an injury has been deemed as compensable. Who determines compensability? The answer to this question must be understood in order to know how to properly approach the issues that employees have when an injury is reported. Workers' compensation adjusters will make the decision as to whether an injury is compensable. I'll give you two examples. I've had the opportunity to work for four of our nation's largest organizations. In two of these organizations, the decision was made to operate a self-insured workers' compensation program, which meant that we maintained money in reserve to pay injury claims from within our company rather than purchasing workers' compensation insurance. We hired outside organizations, known as a third-party administrator, to manage our program. Workers' compensation claims adjusters were assigned within the third-party administrator to manage our various plants. Workers' compensation law can vary greatly from state to state, so these adjusters were experts in the law as it applied to our different plants based on where they were located. It was these adjusters who determined compensability. In another situation, a friend of mine worked for a large state university. She was a workers' compensation adjuster who worked for the university. Her job was to be an expert on workers' compensation laws within that state and to determine the compensability of injuries. In both of these cases, the benefit is that the decision of compensability was made by an unbiased individual. Imagine a situation where your boss assumes that an injury that is being reported is fraud and wants to deny the claim. Such decisions based on emotions, assumptions, and lack of understanding of workers' compensation law can result in liability for your